As to the Strait of Hormuz, you need to clear the straits if you're Europe. But NATO will look different after tomorrow than it did tonight. And I support a force repositioning, reposturing initiative for Europe. And I never thought I'd hear myself say that. But after what they did to us when we're trying to deal with the biggest threat on the planet, a nuclear-armed Ayatollah, they made it so much harder on us. They put our people at risk. They made our pilots fly longer. They denied us capability. I will never look at Europe.
Did you hear that? That was not calm leadership. That was a lion panic on live TV. And it happened right after Trump's national address. Here is why this matters. NPR reported that Trump used that speech to say the war was nearing completion. But Reuters reported that oil jumped and stocks fell after the speech anyway. That tells you everything. If a speech reassures the world, markets settle down. If a speech scares the world, oil rises, stocks drop, and allies get nervous. That is exactly what happened here. So what you just watched was bigger than one loud Fox segment. It was a full media push to sell instability as strength. And by the end of this video, you will see why that spin could cost Americans more at the pump, more in risk overseas, and more in trust with our closest allies.
This is an unlawful, catastrophic war that Donald Trump and Netanyahu went it alone. The American people don't know why we're there. Donald Trump's speech didn't explain anything. But go ahead, Lindsey Graham. We'll see you in full collapse mode. Play this clip.
I don't have any money. Epic Fury is one of the most successful military operations in history. God bless the 13 and the injured. But they died in noble cause protecting America and the world from a cancer. He described the Iranian regime as a cancer. To anybody who's ever had a family with cancer, cancer is the enemy. The cancer hurts and it kills randomly. And they were the cancer of the Mideast. They were the largest state sponsor of terrorism. They had American blood dripping from their hands.
And then you had Fox propagandist Jesse Waters, who's like, NATO, let's just say I'm very disappointed in you, NATO. Here, play this clip.
NATO, let's just say I'm very disappointed. Need we go through how much they owe us? We saved them twice from world wars. We bailed them out with the Marshall Plan. We even lowered our tariffs to zero so they could recover for decades. And then we helped them out with Ukraine. And all we want is a base. All we want is airspace for a little bit to knock out the world's #1 sponsor of terror. They can't give us that. These missiles are in range of their capitals, not ours. They get their oil from that strait. We don't. The least they could do is say, okay, and deal with the domestic blowback. But to say no, while like their economies are getting kind of murdered because they can't even sustain 4 weeks from an oil supply shock. Like, come on, you're not going to send one vessel to the strait. You're going to wait till the hostilities are over. Well, that's the Navy. That's what a Navy's for, to end hostilities. You don't get to play cleanup.
Here is what they are not telling you. NATO is not a personal errand service for any president. NATO is a defensive alliance. That is not my opinion. That is the alliance's own founding logic. NATO's official Article 5 page says an attack on one member is treated as an attack on all. That is collective defense. It is about protecting member territory. It is not a blank check for any military action anywhere on Earth. This is important because Fox turned Allied hesitation into betrayal. That is deeply misleading. Reuters reported that European officials argued NATO is meant for Euro-Atlantic security, not a US-driven operation in the Strait of Hormuz. That is a huge difference. And what this actually means for you is simple. When powerful people blur that difference, regular Americans pay the price. You pay in gas prices. You pay in market turmoil. You pay when US troops face more danger with less Allied support. Reuters also reported experts worry this kind of talk could encourage Russia to test NATO's resolve. Think about that for a second. Loose cable rhetoric today can become real strategic damage tomorrow. So when you hear hosts act like Europe must automatically join every US operation, remember the actual facts. NATO was built to deter attacks on allies. It was not built to reward presidential impulse. And when TV personalities erase that line, they are not giving viewers clarity. They are turning national security into emotional theater. While Fox tried to project confidence, the market heard danger. Reuters reported Brent crude jumped about 7% to around $108 a barrel. Global stocks gave back gains. that is not abstract, that hits gas prices, shipping costs, groceries, and retirement accounts. So when cable hosts say this was strength, remember what investors heard: more instability, no clear off-ramp, and a bigger bill for ordinary Americans.
Sicko maniacs are saying we will not allow you to function as a nation, as Donald Trump's like, we're going to obliterate you to the Stone Age. Okay, you literally are saying war crimes out loud. And by the way, all these people deserve and need to be tried at a war crimes tribunal. Play this clip of Lindsey Graham.
3 weeks. You either do a deal where you get out of the business you were in, or we're going to blow your stuff up that will allow you to function as a nation. That is your choice.
And then you had Dana Perino, who Donald Trump previously said, remember when we had dinner together? You know how good looking you are? You're still so beautiful today, like the time I saw you many, many years ago. That's what Donald Trump said to her. And Dana Perino's like, you know, what's really sad about Donald Trump's speech is that the Iranians are not going to see it. Hey, Dana, I think that the Islamic Republic, they're going to clip Donald Trump's speech and they would be happy.
I believe this is outrageous because they are treating a 77-year alliance like a disposable prop. One minute they boast that America needs nobody. The next minute they ask why allies will not hand over bases, airspace, and ships for a war they did not approve. Here is the part they skip. CBS reported Congress passed a law in 2023, included in the 2024 defense bill, saying a president cannot withdraw from NATO without 2/3 Senate consent or an act of Congress. Reuters reported the same point and noted that any attempt to sidestep that law would trigger a serious legal fight. So this is not some casual cable news threat. This is a constitutional and strategic crisis. Every American should know that. And there is another fact that matters. Reuters noted that no NATO member has ever withdrawn from the alliance. Not one. That tells you how reckless this rhetoric really is. Because even if Trump never files formal notice, the damage starts now. Allies hear this, adversaries hear this, markets hear this, troops hear this, trust breaks long before paperwork arrives. My strong opinion is simple. Serious leaders do not gamble with Article 5 on television. They do not dismiss a law their own party helped write. And they do not make military families wonder whether America is about to torch the strongest alliance it has built in the modern era. Put the NATO language on screen and read it slowly. Article 5 says an attack on one ally is treated as an attack on all. That is the spine of the alliance. Then put the CBS headline beside it. Congress already moved to stop a unilateral NATO exit. Why? Because lawmakers in both parties knew this threat was real. So when Fox personalities act like Europe must join any operation or lose the alliance, they are flipping the whole structure upside down. NATO was built to deter aggression against member states. It was not built to serve as a loyalty test for one president. Lose that distinction. And you lose the rule-based order that has protected America and Europe for generations.
You had Marco Rubio saying that America should withdraw from NATO. Let's play it.
When we need them to allow us to use their military bases, their answer is no. Then why are we in NATO? You have to ask that question. Why do we have billions and billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars, over the years, trillions of dollars, and all these American forces stationed in the region? If we can only use, in our time of need, we're not going to be allowed to use those bases. So I think there's no doubt, unfortunately, after this conflict is concluded, we are going to have to re-examine that relationship. We're going to have to re-examine the value of NATO and that alliance for our country. Ultimately, that's a decision for the president to make.
What did we learn here? We learned that a primetime address meant to project control did the opposite. AP's transcript shows Trump framed the war as a success story. But Reuters reported oil surged and stocks slid after the speech anyway. That contradiction matters. If the war is nearly wrapped up, markets should calm down. They did not. They got more nervous. That means the people with money on the line heard more escalation, not more stability. And then Fox made it worse. Instead of asking hard questions, key voices moved straight to blaming allies, pressuring NATO, and normalizing bigger threats. That is not sober analysis. That is a media ecosystem helping power talk itself into a deeper crisis. My opinion is direct. This is not strength. This is reckless improvisation dressed up as certainty. Real strength is telling the public the truth. Real strength is respecting alliances. Real strength is understanding that words from a president can move markets, shake military families, and weaken deterrence. This is not just about one speech. It is about whether facts still matter when war, law, and democracy are all on the table. Americans deserve honest reporting. Americans deserve leaders who know the difference between discipline and bluster, and Americans deserve a press that checks power instead of echoing it. That is why independent, source-based commentary matters right now more than ever.
Play this clip of Lindsey Graham.
3 weeks. You either do a deal where you get out of the business you were in, or we're going to blow your stuff up that will allow you to function as a nation. That is your choice.
If this video opened your eyes, hit that subscribe button right now, because this story is just getting started and I cover it every single day. Don't miss what's coming next.